The thrift store opened at noon, but Evan was there at 11:30 watching the closed sign like a progress bar. He hated the line that formed behind him, the mumbled hello of a girl with too bright hair, a steady breath of a dad with a stroller, the old woman who kept asking what time they opened, as if the sign might change its mind if she nagged it enough. He kept his hoodie up and his eyes down, thumbs flicking at a cracked phone screen. The video buffering wheel spun and spun. A key. Felt the little prickle of anger that came when something failed to load. A laggy server you had to throttle until it gave you what you wanted. When the door finally unlocked, the bell chimed a tone that sounded like a dying notification. He slipped past the greeting volunteer and beelined for the aisle where they dumped graphic tees, ironic slogans, faded band logos, college shirts with stains in the armpits. It was there. A plain black tee with a pixelated design that made his eyes squint. It looked like a loading bar, not the fancy circular kind, but the old rectangle with segmented blocks. The bar was almost full. Above it, white letters stuttered in a font he recognized from some long-extinct forum. Loa, _ the last letter was smudged, as if the shirt hadn't finished printing its own punchline. He picked it up. It was soft, expensive soft, the kind of cotton that pretended to be cold at first, and then warmed in your hands like skin. The tag had no brand. It's just a rectangle of black fabric with a single stitched letter. "Oh, what'd you find?" the volunteer asked. "Too bright." "Nothing," Evan said, and bought it for $3. He showered when he got home, more out of superstition than hygiene. New clothes touched his skin only when he was clean. Otherwise they absorbed whatever chemical stench the outside world smeared on him. He tugged the shirt over his head and felt the hem settle like a magnetic strip, finding its slot. "Looks good," he told the mirror, and the mirror didn't argue. Spent his days inside his studio apartment like an astronaut on the wrong planet. A chair molded to him. The headset embraced him. The monitors gave him a horizon, a sun in the corner, a world full of inventories and enemies. He streamed sometimes, though he kept the camera off and the mic hot. A voice from the dark. The chat pinging his name loader like a chant. Maybe it was just the shirt, but the low-level irritation he carried, the grain of sand lodged in the meat of his brain, grew into something with edges. He found himself snapping at teammates, carving the air with insults so quick they felt pre-typed. He knew where people lived on the map and where they lived in their minds. He learned, without trying, how to make a stranger's night a little worse. The loading bar on the shirt inching across his chest, he swore it had a tricate. When he took it off to sleep, it looked as it had in the store, almost full, a trait. When he wore it, the last block blinked like an indicator light. He started noticing numbers, the ping on a server, the angle of a sniper's nest, the seconds it took for an angry reply to land after he sent the exact right prod. A pattern, repeatable. You didn't need to be strong or tall out there. You needed to be patient like a fishing spider. A week later he drifted, as one does, from games toward their skeletons. Cheat forums, modding communities, netcode breakdowns with ASCII diagrams and arguments like scripture. He updated his handles, watched as the followers ticked up, people who loved him because he could get them what they wanted, and people who hated him because he could take away what they already had. When he slept, he dreamed in command prompts. The shirt only ever looked like a shirt when he looked at it. Out of the corner of his eye it was something else, an interface, a panel, a menu in a language he almost knew. His cursor hovered over a line of symbols, and, in the dream, he clicked. The day the police came, he didn't hear the knock because the headphones pressed the world to the other side of a glass screen. He had a stream running, chat going feral, the subscriber counter eating itself like a busted odometer. On his second monitor the forum thread scrolled. Docks drop now. PLS. Anyone got Addy? Holy shit, look at the cams. He found a way into a city's traffic network through a forgotten admin page that used default credentials. 'Twas like discovering a house with a key under every welcome mat. Lights went red for a downtown grid just as an ambulance was trying to get through. He could fix it. He could make it worse. He didn't decide so much as watch his own hands decide. There are consequences for pressing buttons, but they're slow consequences. And Evan had trained himself to live only in the half-second between command and response. The next block on his chest flickered, then locked. Load. The door flew open. He spun in his chair. "Taylor," shouted chorus. "Hands." He lifted them. He watched the officer's eyes, all of them snagging on the same thing. Not the monitors, the T's, not the codes, not the mess of takeout cartons and cold coffee stubble. Their gazes fell and stuck to his shirt like flies on sugar. "You need to." The nearest one started, and then stopped. Sentence loading. "Remove the shirt." Another finished, voice thin. He did. He peeled it over his head. For a second, he had the sensation of a scab tearing free, and a draft seemed to ripple across his skin. The room smelled like hot plastic. He dropped the shirt. It landed wrong, too heavy, like it contained the air inside it. They took him without a fight. When the landlord came through days later with a hazmat suit and a court order, he found the walls covered in pages of printer paper. Cozy strings in thick black marker, and, in the middle of each page, a word. Load. No one touched the shirt. When the landlord bagged it to throw it out, it slid of its own weight to the floor with a sound like a sigh. He left it, 'cause that's what you do with certain lost things. You step around them and hope someone else claims them. The gym smelled like disinfectant and old effort. Marcus had his headphones on, but the beat couldn't outpace the day's static boss chewing him out. His girlfriend quiet in a way that felt like distance. Group chat, full of plans he couldn't afford. Stomped into the locker room, the towel slapping his shoulder like a flag. He didn't see it right away. The thing about men in their 20s and 30s is they learn to edit their sight around one another, to respect the bubble. See a stranger's sneakers, not the flinching sore ankles above them. You see the bench, not the body on it, because to look too closely is to admit we're all under construction. He saw it as a color, red, not a cheap sports red. It's wine dark, pomegranate deep, a red with weight to it. It hung on the end of his locker's open door like he'd left it there yesterday. Athletic cut, subtle. The fabric looked like it wanted to be fast. "K?" She checked the number on the locker. His. He glanced to the left and right to find someone smirking, waiting for him to raise the shirt so they could yell, "Got you." Prank complete. No one looked up. The tag was blank. Kaha. A small embroidered logo on the chest. The kind of branding you couldn't place but that told you the thing was expensive. Kaha. If you asked later he'd describe it as a horn or a flame, and both would be wrong. Ha. He pulled it over his head because that is what you do with gifts placed where they fit. Ka. The shirt clung like it had a memory of him already. It sculpted, flattered. It made him look like he'd slept, like he'd hydrated, like he'd earned whatever was coming next. At pickup basketball the next hour, they passed him the ball, and he moved like he was wearing less weight than everyone else. He threaded between two defenders and felt a click in his chest, like something aligning. He laughed. He wasn't a laugher. The sound that came out of him surprised his friends enough to make them laugh too. It's the kind of contagious joy that forgives trash talk immediately. He ran longer than he usually did. He didn't feel the edge of breath. He didn't feel the sore that sets in after your third bad landing. He only felt more. Tea that night. Clubbing with the guys, the shirt turned to a rich dark that refused to show sweat. People moved toward him the way moths do a porch light. Key's phone filled with numbers he didn't save. He felt loyal and faithless at the same time. which is a trick some people pull off and others drown in. A week later, the shirt was the only thing he wanted to wear. He washed it alone and gently. Once, he forgot it at his girlfriend Lena's place and drove back across town at 2 a.m. to get it. Sweating at every red light like something was burning behind him, she handed it over half awake, eyebrows raised. "It's a shirt," she said. "Feels good," he said, and kissed her forehead and left without sleeping. The change came like a new habit that decides to be a personality. He lifted heavier and stopped counting before failure. A tea. He ate more and stopped tasting. He slept less and felt more alert. He didn't notice that his eyes sometimes seemed to reflect a thin sheen in the bathroom mirror when the light was just right. Friends noticed the way his laugh sometimes turned too sharp. A blade flicked out mid-joke. Lena noticed the way he started measuring his love and performances. Who could he win from a stranger? Who could he shove against a wall to impress her? Who could he leave behind to prove he could? At a Saturday league game, a guy on the other team fouled him hard on a drive, something that would usually result in 2 free throws and a mumbled apology. The gym echo magnified everything: the squeal of sneakers, the ref's whistle, the crowd's hissing breath. Marcus hit the floor. He stood. He smiled, though he didn't feel like smiling. "You good?" the guy asked. "Hand out." "Yeah," Marcus said, and knocked it away with such casual precision it felt like choreography. The guy laughed it off. On the next play, Marcus cut past him, took the contact, and finished anyway. He barked, some wordless exhale that felt like good theater. The shirt warmed against his back, a hot coin on spine. Later, in the parking lot, the guy made a joke Marcus didn't like about calling your own fouls. Marcus closed the distance quickly because that is what you do when you think you can win. His friends grabbed him, said his name like it was a leash. He shrugged them off. The guy made a mistake. He glanced at the red shirt as if to say, "Nice drip, bro." For a split second, his eyes widened like he'd seen a shape inside the fabric: a horn, a flame, a mouth. Marcus swung. Adrenaline narrates through a tunnel. He remembered the crack of knuckles, the give and return of cheekbone under skin. Shouted "Hey, hey, hey" of a dozen bystanders. Blur of arms, and then the cold metal of a hood against his palms as someone drove him back. He remembered feeling live, the way they promised you'd feel in commercials where men with better jawlines than you drive trucks over mountains. It ended with an ambulance and sirens and Lena standing by the curb, hands pressed to her temples. Lon's teeth were chipped. Blood glistened on the cement in marbled puddles. Marcus looked down and realized the red of his shirt had deepened, richer, as if it had found at last the shade it wanted. In the reflection of a car window his eyes looked wrong. Not red, exactly. It's hollowed, like someone had blown out the candles inside them, and the glass still held a faint afterglow. When the police report went online, the message boards did what they do. Took sides, made jokes, dug. Someone posted a clip from earlier that night at the club. Marcus dancing, laughing, then shoving a stranger away from Lena too hard, then laughing again like it was a skit. Someone else zoomed in on the shirt and swore they saw the embroidered logo move. "Take it off," Lena said the next morning. She'd slept on the couch. The apartment smelled like sweat and night. "It's just a shirt," he said. "Take it off," she repeated. Not softer, not louder, but with a kind of steel he wasn't used to. He took it off, because in some part of him he still recognized instructions that sound like safety. The air against his bare chest felt raw, like he'd peeled off more than cotton. He tossed the shirt on the chair. Kate landed with an odd weight. Kate looked away quickly and felt ridiculous for doing so. He tried to go to the gym in another tee, an old team shirt. He lasted 10 minutes before he felt small. like someone had put him in a child's chair in a classroom where everyone else had gotten taller. He went home. He picked up the red shirt. It was warm already, like someone had been wearing it while he was gone. He held it up to the window. For a second he thought he saw threads inside the threads, hairline filaments that moved imperceptibly like veins under thin skin. Scalp prickled. He stuffed it in a grocery bag and then into the trash chute down the hall. He walked away quickly, because that is what you do when you dispose of a thing you don't want to admit felt like part of your body. That night, he woke to the sound of a whisper under the door. Not a voice, but the soft snake of fabric moving. The next morning the shirt was folded on the chair where he'd thrown it, perfect, as if someone had ironed it while he slept. There was a smear on the hem he couldn't name. The logo seemed deeper, more raised, as if the brand had decided to assert itself. He moved out a week later, leaving the shirt behind because you can't keep everything from your old life. True to form, the new tenant found it and texted the landlord to ask about it. The landlord wrote back, "Free man, nice shirt. People want what fits. People hate to admit something fit too well." Theo's brand was precision. He posted videos about construction quality. How you could tell a knockoff by the way the stitches crossed in the corner of a pocket. How a certain milled button reflected light in a way mass-produced ones never did. He made affiliate money on pieces he actually liked, and lost money on videos where he told his audience not to buy hype. Fit check, he'd say to camera, and the way he rolled his shoulders told you he really did care about the weight of clothes on bone. The shirt arrived not with a knock, but as if it had always been on his bed. A gentle gray, not heathered so much as clouded, with a luster you only get from long staple fibers. No tag, just a stitched symbol at the hem you could see only when the light hit it, a curve, an eye, a needle. The seams were perfect, the stitches small enough to make him swear aloud. He thought for a second he was being pranked by a brand desperate for his approval. He filmed the unboxing even though there was no box. That was content. The gap between what you see and what you get. He held it up to the camera and watched comments explode. What brand? Need link, is that redacted? He shrugged into it, tugged him like a tailored piece, folding and falling in the right places. T turned side to side and saw, for the first time in months, an image of himself he didn't itch to adjust. "Okay," he said, more to himself than to the live. "Okay, this is good." He wore it in 3 videos that week, a long form on seasonal palettes, a quick reel on how to cuff trousers, a live stream Q&A where he answered earnest questions about dressing for your body instead of the body you think you have. He noticed, second day, that the shirt looked a shade darker under warm light, shade lighter and cool, like it had its own color temperature. The comments turned odd sooner than he noticed. "Is it breathing?" one said. Other, "Timestamp for 32. Look at the hem." Theo scrubbed the clip. At 4:32 he was leaning in to adjust the camera. The hem rippled because fabric. Ripples. He told himself that. A tree. He told his audience, it's a shirt, not a pet. Laugh emoji. He scrolled faster past the comments that said faces and folds, and bro has ghosts in his top. He slept in it one night. He'd never done that. Clothes had jobs, and sleepwear wasn't daywear. But that night felt like a continuation of the day, a stream with no off button. He woke stiff and turned the camera on anyway, eyes puffy, hair perfect in that messy way you have to plan for. The shirt didn't smell like him. It smelled faintly mineral, as if he'd slept near a radiator in winter. He noticed something then, when he stood still, truly still. The fabric didn't, a shimmer under the surface, like a school of fish flipping in distant sun. He blinked. He blamed lack of sleep. He made coffee strong enough to bite. By Friday he felt anxious when he put on a different top for a collaboration shoot. He looked wrong. The other shirt tugged in places the gray one had taught him not to tolerate. He swapped mid-shoot. He didn't announce it. He just walked back on camera in the gray top and watched the other creator's eyes catch and dilate like a pupil reacting to a brighter room. They shot the segment in a single take. His numbers climbed, not trending climbing. The algorithm liked consistency, and the shirt gave him that, a silhouette his audience recognized at a scroll's glance. He woke to DM requests from brands that had ghosted him last year. His famous designer's stylists followed him. Lena, someone he didn't know, left a comment that read like a prayer disguised as a warning. Take it off. He tapped the profile and saw nothing but a face and a feed gone private. He held a live stream that weekend. 50,000 people in the chat. He took questions, squatched himself on the little monitor, and wondered if the slight movement at his chest was breath or something else sinking to his breath. Squaw. He leaned close to the camera to adjust focus and saw, in the pixelated reflection of his own eyes, a curve at the hem that wasn't a wrinkle. It looked like a lip pressed flat not to scream. He ended the stream abruptly with a joke about his internet dying, and sat for a long time in the bright light of his ring, the room a white circle in a surrounding dark. He peeled the shirt off. Teed came away with a soft resistance, the way a bandage does when the hair underneath has been caught. T saw, on his skin, faint marks where the seams had lain thin lines like hand-drawn roads on a map. When he dressed in a different tee, he felt naked, like leaving the house without his phone. That night he dreamed of a fitting room with no mirror, only a curtain that moved as if someone was breathing on the other side. He heard the whir of a sewing machine and the click of a mouse, and could not tell which was which. The shirt did what gifts do when recipients grow suspicious. It became undeniable. He filmed without it one day, petty and stubborn, and a little high on the idea of boundaries. The footage looked wrong. His face was fine, his eyes were clear, but his torso seemed unfinished. Every frame felt like a bad edit of himself. He posted it anyway to prove a point. The comments landed like insects on fruit. Bring back the fit, miss the gray shirtless era. Lol. No, the other one is you. He put it back on. The relief was bodily. He didn't like that, less the feeling that the relief wasn't entirely his. On Monday, a delivery, no return address. Inside, neatly folded tissue, heavy with the scent of something clean and antique. A note in handwriting that looked like it belonged to a teacher who had never smiled. If you look your best in what you deserve. No signature. Under the tissue, another shirt, black this time, with stitching that made his teeth ache when he looked too long. He didn't remember ordering it. He put it on anyway. It fit. Stories live in comments now. A kid posted screenshots of Evan's binary walls. Another kid set them to electronic music and got 5 million views. Someone did a slow-mo of Marcus's punch, with the bass cut under it, and titled it, Red Flag Compilation Part 6. Theo's lives were stitched into I think something's wrong with his shirt conspiracy videos. Theories braided, government psyop, haunted garment, viral marketing. Someone claimed the stitched O on the black tee was an eye. Someone else said it was a needle. One reply earned more likes than the post. It's a mouth. The shirt didn't need belief. It needed attention. And it got it. 'Cause you, reading this, have looked at your own closet and thought, this makes me better. 'Cause you, reading this, have looked at a stranger and thought, I can be more than him. 'Cause you have felt a fabric touch you in a way that made your body lower its guard. Maybe that's how it chooses. Maybe it doesn't choose at all. Maybe it's just gravity, and we're the ones rolling downhill. Evan's landlord swore the shirt appeared in the building's laundry room 2 months after Evan went away. No one put it there. It sat on the folding table like a black square of night cut out and abandoned. Tenants texted the group chat anyone missing a tea, and the chat did what chats do. 37 replies, 4 gifs. One neighbor insisting it belonged to his nephew while spelling nephew wrong each time. Marcus's old gym owner said he found a red shirt in the low stand found that the cleaners refused to touch. The logo looked like a wound. He put it in a box under the counter where they kept mouth guards and tape and a laminated sign about wiping down equipment. The next day it hung on a hook by the court door like it had always lived there. Theo's packaged because there were more. There were always more rented up at a resale store when his manager tried to declutter the aesthetic, stirring a nervous breakdown about brand consistency. A kid pulled it from a bin, held it up to the mirror, and smiled like a mirror had smiled back. If you want to know where it is now, maybe you should check your dryer's lint trap. Maybe you should check that chair where you drape clothes you pretend aren't on the floor. Maybe you should check the listing that floated across your feed last night at 2:17 a.m. After you ran out of new content and let the scroll carry you like a tide, it read, "One-of-a-kind shirt, fits any style. No brand, no price, just a button." By now you roll your thumb as if it's your idea. Let's say you didn't click. Let's say you slept deeply, dreams clean as a hotel sheet. In the morning you dress. You tug on your oldest favorite shirt, the one that used to feel like an apology and now feels like a joke. It pinches, it rides. It makes you glare at yourself in the mirror with a disappointment you pretend belongs to someone else. You open your closet, you find it folded on the shelf where you keep gifts you don't know how to refuse. The fabric isn't loud. It doesn't hum. It lies there like obedience. You lift it, and it spills over your hands like water that wants to be hands. You hold it up to the light, and for a moment you see a shape, an icon, a symbol you can't place, a horn, a flame, a mouth, an eye, a needle. It flickers through possibilities like it's testing which one you'll accept. You think, it will make me the version of myself I deserve. You think, it will make me the version of myself I already am. But you listen. There's a sound if you stand quiet enough. Not a whisper. Not a scream. It's that small elastic creak a shirt makes when it stretches over shoulders and settles against the slope of your back. Some things that sound ordinary aren't. It fits too well. Later, on your commute, or in your kitchen, or in the dark little room where you keep your screens, something small will ask you to press a button, green or red, post or delete, buy or leave behind, run or hit, tighten or loosen, say it or swallow it. You will press. The response will come faster than you expected. The half-second between command and consequence is plenty of time for you to think, I did that, or that wasn't me. Either way, the shirt will be there in the reflection, draped over your choices, adapting to your light. And if someone you love, Alina, in your life looks at you with eyes gone distant and says, take it off, you will. You will peel it away and feel the air on you like a cold hand. You will drop it, and it will land wrong. And you will walk away quickly, because that is what you do when you leave a thing that knows you. Maybe you'll make it a day. Maybe you'll make it a week. Maybe you'll wake at 2:17 a.m. and pad to the chair by the door and find it folded there. It's perfect, as if a hand you can't imagine had smoothed it flat in the absence where you slept. You will tell yourself the obvious thing. It's just a shirt. And the obvious thing will answer, in the little stretch of cotton speaking to skin as it slips over your head. Load.